Okay, it's 7 o'clock and.
Recording in progress.
Right. So at the beginning of the meeting, this is a not normally scheduled meeting of the public facilities meeting. And we have, I'm just gonna around the table, Lisa Gordon, counselor from Ward 6, Susan Albright, counselor from Ward 2, Counselor Grossman from Ward 7, Molly Huttons, CBC. And then we have Andrea Kelly, Ward 3, and we have Cyrus Mubin. I'm slurring them. Ward 4, and join us, but not on the committee, William Maliki from Ward 3. What? Oh, sorry, Curtis. You have to pronounce your last name. Wait,
You could.
Yes. You can introduce yourself. Yes. Okay, and I'm Rena Getz, at large from Ward 5. Okay, so let me read into the record. The item number is item number 221-26, the CPC recommendation to appropriate $232,000 for the cupolas and windows at City Hall. There was a meeting held in finance, which most of the committee attended, so I hope a lot of questions were asked there. Oh yay, and our chair is here now too. Okay, good to see. And then we also have Counselor Sean Rich from at large from Ward 6 joining us, as well as Commissioner of Buildings Alex Kari, as well as Buzz Dunker, the chair of the CPC, as well as our COO, is that correct, for Josh Morse. So I think I've designated everybody, right? Okay, so we're all here on this. Yeah. All right, so do we have a presentation?
We have a presentation. I'll give an abridged version since most of you have heard it at this point. Or heard some version of it. But I'll just really quick recap. So this, there we go. This funding is for the first phase of what we anticipate will be a larger construction project. This includes an existing conditions assessment, an architecture for 53 windows and the cupolas on the front, which is the east elevation. It's historic resource funding. This is the said east elevation. The project includes this front facade and the inside of what we're calling the U on the front, not the outside of the U, the inside of the U. Let me see. The proposal captures 4 out of the 7 window types that repeat around City Hall. It's funded at 90 to 100%, 90 if you include the value of the hours worked by the public building staff, which is their contribution to the project. This is a color-coded elevation of the work, which shows the 4 different window types that are covered by the window work. The cupolas are covered in their entirety by the scope of work. If you can't see it, these G windows are highlighted as well. So A, B, C, and G. CPC at their public meetings had a detailed discussion of the fee, whether it was competitive, and we also discussed at length whether the information gathered as part of this work would be replicable as future windows were inventoried and assessed to their condition in future phases. I know at finance there was a lot of discussions about whether it would be cost effective to assess the condition of all windows or just these 53 windows that we've talked about. I'll let Alex talk more about the answer to that question, but the understanding of CPC at the time was that the information gathered by doing this first phase of work would help to inform the later phase and make sure that was effective and efficient at a later date. We're looking at paying this out of the historic reserve account, which has been replenished for FY 27. The total balance is 505,939 right now in the historic reserve, so this project would be about half of what's in the historic reserve account. And just a quick note, I put an asterisk, this would, the unrestricted balance, I didn't mention this at the finance meeting, but that number includes our state match funds, which actually don't come in until November, but that's what we're anticipating the balance will be. In November, it's about $700,000 of that is what we're expecting out of the state match. And just a note on the community need, City Hall can be a difficult thing to discuss funding and improving, because it is not out in the community the way some other buildings are. And just by restoring the cupolas and windows, I think it's important that we steward this historic resource and that it continues to be a viable workspace for its employees and for City Council. That's it.
Thank you, Molly. And I'm just curious, are we gonna get any other presentations? Or is
I think-
Commissioner Walkari gonna present? I just wanna get all of that.
I just was raising my hand for whenever you do.
Okay,
I think Alex, I don't believe has prepared a presentation, but is here to answer questions, particularly
Okay.
Ones that came up at finance. Yes, sorry, I'm not used to doing these at board. At the finance committee last.
okay, great.
The public buildings good evening. The public buildings information is now all in the backup, and I'm happy to go through it or answer questions. There was the question for a comparative analysis, which RDA provided, and we could talk about that a little bit. I think COO Morse included some backup information regarding the history of the windows. And again, the thinking going forward of doing it in a phase that's measured, that allows us to learn something and carry that information forward, and in a funding amount that is doable and people are comfortable with, that certainly the CPC was comfortable with. I know Buzz is here and he can speak to that. I can go to questions if that's the easiest way.
Okay, so why don't we start with questions within the committee first? So Councilor Kelly?
Sure, thank you. Alex, could you hear us fine? Because we had a little hard time. You can hear, okay, we'll work with that.
Can you hear me?
Not very well.
I was messing with the sound earlier, like, it's either this or it's really, really loud, and there's kind of no in between. I can find a way to get it for this.
I just wanted to be sure they could hear us.
Yeah, no, that should
It's
be.
great to hear you all. You mentioned and on your presentation, Molly, that this was the first phase. How many phases do you anticipate altogether?
I think we are.
Well,
When I-
I can answer the question. We're looking, right now, we're working in a theory of 4 phases. I think that the construction will be done in more phases than that. It will all depend on funding and how we go about getting it done. But it could be more packages of construction. But for the basic work, I would say it's based right now on 4 phases.
Not including construction later.
Correct.
And this first phase is just for feasibility of the front facing you.
This funding is correct to do the analysis, figure out what can be done, work with the Newton Historic, come up with a solid estimate, report back to folks, meet back with CPC, and then move forward, if that's where we're at, to document it and put it out to bid.
Okay. The docket item that we're looking at says you're looking for the funding to come from unrestricted prior year reserves, but Molly, you referred to them as historic reserves account, different
Yes,
terminology.
That is amended
So we have new amended language than what we're looking at.
for the account because this was originally docketed before we received our FY 27 funds. So that
Okay.
account has been replenished, the historic reserve account has been replenished.
Okay. Okay, and so that I don't have to speak again, I'll just say that my feeling on it is that, last time also when we were at finance, the whole question of should the roofs be done first came up, and I think that really muddied the thinking and the prioritization and the process here, so that's one thing I just wanted to mention. The other is, for me, I really think that feasibility study analysis for all of the sides and phases should be done initially rather than just one, so I don't think I'm in favor of this. That's it for me.
Okay, Counselor Albright.
So, apropos of what Counselor Kelly just said, maybe this is a question for you, Commissioner. So what percentage of the building is the front U? Is it half? Is it less than half?
Well, there's 212 windows and we're basically dealing with 53, so we're actually at 25% of the total number of windows.
Okay, so I think knowing that what Molly just told us, that this 500 and something $1,000 in historic reserve.
Yeah.
And which is probably more than, I mean, what it would take to do all the windows is more money than we have. So I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. If the CPC is willing to spend half of that money on the city hall, I think we should do it. And one question I have for you again, Commissioner, is it does, I know that, and Councilor Damelbed will probably say something about this, but you know, the idea of there's so much that needs to be done to poor City Hall. And the idea of making an effort to really dig down deep and figure out what else, what would it cost to do it all? And I know it's probably gonna be a scary number, but it's probably a good thing to have so we can chip away at it. And is that something that we can entice you to do?
To figure out a total budget for everything that has to be done at City Hall? That-
Well, yes, I think it would be worthwhile to know that.
I think we can work on that over the CIP, but there's a lot to be done. I mean, I might defer a little bit to COO Morse, who spent a lot of time analyzing this building over the last decades.
Just want, before COO Morse speaks, I just want to say that the list of people that Molly said that we're doing this for, you didn't include the public. And, you know, this is a very prominent place in our city. It's on Commonwealth Avenue and Walnut Street. It's the center of our city. People come and go here all the time, and not just new people from all over the place. And some people even come to our meetings for public hearings. So it's a very prominent building, and to let it disintegrate before our eyes is disheartening for everybody, including the residents. And I think the public needs to play a role in this as well. So Commissioner Morse, now your answer.
Thank you.
Are you going to, Commissioner Morse, are you going to, COO Morse, are you going to address the questions asked, or are you going to, I just wanted to get all the questions out first and then have you respond. But
I would happy to defer to the chair. I was somebody had mentioned my name and asked if I would speak to it, but I'm happy to wait if you'd like.
okay, all right, so I just wanted to get all of the questions on the table. So, Chair Kalis, your question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't even have a question. I just wanted to move it because I feel like the memo was articulate. It touched on many of the questions, most of them I thought. And I know as a council, we can debate this for hundreds of years. But I think we should take this and I think we should start moving on whatever work we can do within the with City Hall. So whenever it's ready, I'm ready to move this forward.
Okay, so let's listen to COO Morse. I do have a question for you though. Maybe I should, is there any other questions?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to speak? Why don't you speak?
You go ahead
Okay,
first.
my only question, I did do a deep dive in terms of the content, and I really appreciate getting that second memo from the, you know, the design company, which addressed the cost for it was 584 or something, you know, something like that, for the total package. But I just wonder whether or not we are held to the same standards with the building having such a significant, historic designation. Whether or not the building code because it's both a public building, but it's also a historic resource. And I don't know, whether or not it can get an exemption. Just in terms of the compliance with the energy code efficiency codes that you were, stipulating in your memo, that were required. And that it would be piecemeal to look at, it in the sense of like, if we did the full package now, then whether or not this work was done in 10 years, 20 years, we may be looking at very different profile of like the window current conditions or, just the building code, those sorts of things. So I wanted that answer. And I don't know if you can address it. Okay. Okay, we have one more question, but Councilor Roach, do you have a question or a comment?
I have a comment.
Okay, so why don't we hold on and let's hear from the commissioner or from the COO, please?
Fine by me.
Just gonna
Thank you.
address some of the questions.
Sure. So real quick, I just want to remind the committee, well, it won't be a reminder because some of you were not here back then. In 2011, we did a building assessment of all 55 municipal buildings that was performed by SEA Kleinfelder. That is ultimately what generated the CIP as you see it now. So we have the long form analysis that they did in partnership with Public Buildings of City Hall. So we already have a pretty good handle on the overall capital needs. What we don't have, and I think this speaks to Councilor Talmabed's point, is we don't have an in-depth kind of roadmap for how we would approach each individual capital project that all tie together. Now, I think that, and I've shared this with others, I think one of the challenges that we would be faced with is, from a high level order of magnitude, you could very easily get to $100 million worth of capital needs within City Hall. And that seems like a huge, scary number, and it is, but it's a 90,000 square foot building built in 1932. So that's not completely out of line. You could find similar numbers for a lot of our large municipal buildings and our large school buildings throughout the city. So I think one of the things that we need to ask ourselves is, do we have enough information from a high level standpoint to inform our capital investments and to ensure that the money we're spending on each individual capital project will dovetail to the best we can predict with future capital projects. But at the same time, I think it's important that we all kind of be realistic with respect to how much capital investment we think we will realistically be able to make in the variety of building systems at City Hall in the foreseeable future. So I just, again, want to remind people we have an assessment. Happy to share the raw data. A lot of it is already in our CIP, but I'm happy to kind of cull that out so you're looking at it in a condensed version. To the chair's question, the vice chair's question regarding what standards we're held to the same standards as anybody else. So we would not be looking for any kind of variances from historic or from the Department of Energy Resources or building codes or energy codes. We would have to comply with everything that we're required to comply with.
Okay, all right, so there's one sort of outstanding comment from Councilor Roach as well as Councilor Donovan.
So I think that Mr. Morris's comment is important. By the way, just as a matter, we can hear other Zoom participants very clearly. So if you're not hearing, that's something in the room. Just want you to know. And I will try to speak up. What Mr. Morris said was very important, in terms of the order of magnitude of what this building is going to require. And I share Councilor Damabed's concern that work could be done without a conservation plan. That's number one. Number two, this building serves two functions, right? One function is, strictly speaking, it's a municipal building, and it's a municipal building just like any other municipal building, like a cinder block building that is more recently done in other communities. We just happen to do our municipal work in a historical building. Maintaining the historical building, maintaining the character of the historical building is very important, but I think I'm uncomfortable with the CPC being a source of funds for this kind of work, or a sole source of funds for this kind of work. There's a municipal component of it that you would be doing with any municipal building, and a historical component which reflects the unique historical nature of our city hall. And so I'm not comfortable that the entirety of this work be funded by CPC funds. That it strikes me there should be a better mix. And again, having a conservation plan would better inform us about what mix makes the most sense. So in its current form, I'm not comfortable with this. I would rather have a different mix of funding, as well as a conservation plan. And I apologize for not being on video. I think that's bad form and bad sport, but there are reasons I can't be on video tonight. So thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Councilor Dockenville.
Thank you, Vice Chair, Madam Chair, I think, when you're chairing the chair, I don't know if he's here today. I think, Councilor Albright mentioned the question of how much would this building cost, right? And, COO Morris mentioned $100 million easily. The CIP, from when I went through and I found everything I could about City Hall and the CIP, and I pulled it into one spreadsheet, and it's $52,967,000. Roughly 53 million, but in the dollars of the time when we actually get to that work, probably easily 100 million. And it's totally possible I missed things too. I think I won't reiterate many of the concerns that have been shared. And I think Councilor Roach put it exactly right. My concern is that this is such an important historic building and it's such a great public building. And I think and to COO Morris's point, we have good existing conditions, but we don't yet have the document that's a plan for how we spend that $53 million on this building over time, that guides, that marshals the historic strategy around that. So that's why I am inclined to vote no on this. On the other hand, I actually am perfectly fine with the idea of CPC spending on a historic building. And especially a historic building as important as this one. I just would like for there to be a big picture plan that guides that CPC spending to ensure that when the work is happening, we are achieving a level of historic quality and preservation that is due to this building. So in a way, I'm of two minds right now, even now, but those are some of my concerns.
Sorry. Oh, we have two. You both can, Molly, I noticed Molly first, but CO Morris, I'll come to you next.
I just really quickly wanted to address Councilor Roche and Councilor Gombet's point that or discussion point that 100% or close to 100% of funding is coming from CPC. We've talked about this before, that was a strategy employed for a long time by public buildings to apply for fewer projects at a higher percentage of funding. That is a strategy that we have talked about extensively at CPC, and Buzz will back me up on that we've had a lot of long conversations about that, and we do anticipate there being a change going forward where public buildings may apply for more projects with a lower percentage of funding. And so that each project would have a better mix of funding rather than CPA funding projects in their entirety. Personally, I'm supportive of that approach. I think it's good for the program to be involved in more things across the city. But there's pros and cons to both. But I think that's going to change going forward. 100% of funding now is not a guarantee of 100% funding in the future. And I don't even know that it's expected at this point. So I want to sort of just reassure anyone who's having misgivings that this is kind of an older approach. It's maybe the last application of its kind. Maybe, we don't know. But it's something that we have discussed extensively with the CPC.
So let me, CO Morse.
Just wanted to, a few very quick things. I will point out, as I did in my letter, that 100% of the cost for the window replacement in the basement, which there's quite a few windows down there, was covered exclusively by the city. So while it's absolutely true that the ask right now is for 100% funding for the design, for this design phase, the city certainly has made investments in the past with respect to the windows at City Hall, and we fully anticipate we'll be making a sizable investment going forward in the windows for City Hall. I would also just point out, as I did mention in my letter, but I'll expand slightly. I think it's important, at least for me, and maybe for you, to think about the history of our requests for funding for windows at City Hall. Many of the questions that are asked this evening and were asked at the last meeting were asked by former city councilors and former aldermen from the 1980s through the 90s, through the 2000s, through the 2010s. And many, when I say many of the same questions, they grappled with the same exact issues. Should we be looking at a full design for City Hall? Should we come up with a feasibility plan for how all of our future projects will tie together? Should we be looking at the entire building envelope? The problem that we kept coming back to, and I say we, I wasn't even born for some of these, was that when attempts were made to go back through the elected body back then for those more comprehensive approaches, there wasn't support for those either, because the elected bodies at the time recognized that the most likely scenario is that those studies would simply collect dust, because we would not have the funds to actually act on them in a timely manner, such that much of the work in those studies would become stale and would need to be redone. So we keep getting ourselves stuck in this in a cycle of where we're afraid to make short-term or more modest phased approach construction investments, because we want to make sure we're planning for the future, but there's not the will to plan for the future because we're not sure that we'll actually be able to benefit from that larger investment. I will say, I've now been with the city for 18 years. I've had the luxury, I suppose, of watching the windows deteriorate even further. I am one of the few people who was lucky enough in the War Memorial Auditorium to go to open one of the windows, far left-hand side when you first walk in, where I went to open the lower sash and the entire window assembly pivoted and swung out. For anybody that does not realize, those are massive windows. Now, we made repairs, obviously. I would not sleep well at night had we not, but these windows desperately need investment. And I'm just saying that if history it bears any influence on the committee this evening and the city council deliberations in general, I would plead that we approve this so that we can start making some tangible investments in these windows before they get worse.
Okay, Councilor Alba.
So I want to propose an argument for how important it is to move ahead on this project. So this is, you're talking about city money, maybe half would be, I don't know what you typically do with a project with the city, is it half-half?
Half for a private project, for the city, we might do 2/3, 1/3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So besides City Hall, we have at least, I think it's 10 more elementary schools. We have 4 middle schools and 2 high schools. All of those need a tremendous amount of work, especially some of the middle schools that haven't been touched in a while. You have $5 million a year in CPC money?
We bring in about 4 to 5.
$4 to $5 million a year in CPC money. I mean, we are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars to get all of this work done. And I don't understand, I kind of understand what you're saying. Yeah, we should have the grand scheme. You know, when I told you the other night, I did my windows first before I did my roof. And I didn't know the cost of the roof at the time that I did the windows, and actually didn't do all the windows. I only did the big windows. But I knew that I had to start somewhere. So we're starting somewhere is what the point of what I'm trying to say is. And you know, there's a lot in the CPC. There's a lot of information in there. And it's all sort of in the context of all the work that we have to do. And it's been prioritized in a way, in the best way that they can, given all the work that we have to do. So, and there's somebody up there clunking around.
Okay.
Okay, Josh, who's up there clunking around?
Yes.
That's our crew installing the air conditioning for ISD, our heat pump
Nice.
decarbonization efforts.
It's,
I was hoping you were gonna say installing the air conditioning for the chamber.
Yeah.
You know,
So I just want to say, I think we should move ahead, take this little step forward. There will be other steps to come. And the work is mammoth. I mean, I can't even grasp how many millions of dollars. It's mammoth. Let's take this little step forward.
Councilor Grossman.
Thank you. So I already voted on this in finance last Monday and I spoke to it, but not everyone was there. So I just want to briefly tell you all, I supported it. I'm going to support it again tonight. I'm very much in agreement with Councilor Albright and Councilor Kalis. You know, I definitely take the point of wanting the broader plan. And having the broader plan would make a ton of sense if we were able to move forward on any element of that plan in a timeline that would keep the plan relevant. I think it was pretty obvious from the memo that we received that even a full plan for the windows wouldn't necessarily be relevant in the long term. But I take the point. And if it were a perfect world, I would love to have it. And I'm really interested in the discussion I know we're gonna have with a new document, new docket item forthcoming on that point. That said, having been around all this for 10 years, I feel like when someone is willing to give us money to make progress and make any investment in these buildings, we need to say yes. Not if it's totally illogical and a terrible use of money, but this is not totally illogical and it's not a terrible use of money. It's a really crystallized need that's been presented before us, and this is progress. So I agree, doing something is better than doing nothing, and just continuing to kick the can down the road. And I could go on, but I think you get my point. I support it.
Okay, let's end with Councilor Nomad, because it's getting close to after 7:30. We need to watch this.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just say that I think it's worth clarifying that there's a kind of difference in even the types of drawings that we've been talking about, like what would it look like to do 100% prep for all of the windows, right? Those are like the kinds of drawings that you then go build off of. Whereas a conservation management plan is the kind of document that says, whenever you go build this in 100 years, or parts of it, or whatever thing you touch, when you touch the AC, when you touch the doorknob, when you touch this, when you work on that, here's what you need to know about how to do that properly. And like that the doorknob should be brass or wood or neither or something. The kind of thing that tells you in 100 years, I know those windows are completely rotted away. They should be wood and not plastic, or they should be glass and not plastic. And that's the kind of documentation that I think is important for this building. Given also, if you walk around the building, there is work that has happened, there's work that's happening. And the quality of the preservation work that goes into that can be informed by that document. It's not the kind of plan that goes and lives on a shelf and then you pull it out later and you're like, well, this is not how we build things nowadays, or this is not how, or we can't fund this. It's like the kind of plan of like, this, it's not a what to do, it's a how to do it. Yeah, process rather than project. Again, actually, I agree with everything that's been said. I'll say again, I think that this should be funded this way, and I think that it should happen. My thing is just that I think we should do something else first too.
Okay, great. All right, so we have a motion on the table. Councilor Kalis, he had, when he spoke, he actually wanted to move it, correct? Did I hear you?
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
I thought I heard it say. The hearing in here is really bad, it's, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm not.
It's all of us.
Okay, all right. So do you want to restate it?
I move approval of this item.
Okay, that's good. So we're gonna vote?
Alright, just a second.
Okay.
Just because we wanna use a separate fund for the
Yes.
funds, correct?
Yeah.
Should there not first be a motion to amend
Then,
to
correct.
do those correct
Yeah,
ones?
Yeah,
and approve that?
because you pointed out, Officer Kelly, that in fact it's not written
I would
correctly
make a
here.
motion to update or change or correct the name of
Correct.
this fund.
Yep, yep, so that it's appropriately named in the docket item, you know, so that we will then have it correct when it hits the city council floor
That,
tonight. Okay, what's the account number? It needs to be amended tonight.
Oh, you have the account number? You referred to it as historic reserves account versus we're looking at.
I'll pull up the
Okay.
account.
Yeah,
I don't
please,
have the
please give us that
number.
account number. But we need to date. Thank you.
The appropriate account number would be, you ready?
Yes,
58B,
58B.
Like in boy,
as in boy. 10498 hyphen 57900 B as in boy.
Wow, that's so
It's a
different
long
than the
number.
previous account.
okay, so
number.
let me just repeat it back
There's
to
one
you,
right.
would you wanna repeat
Yeah.
it back to her?
Yeah, sure.
Um,
So 58B 10498 57900B. And what's the official name of that account?
The historic reserve,
FY 27.
FY 20.
Okay, so that's the first motion to amend. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all,
Aye.
any denials? Any abstentions? Okay, so we're 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so then on the full item, packet item? Are you
Motion.
gonna make the motion? She did. All right, all right, so for the full approval of 221-26 as amended, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, those against? 1, 2. Those abstaining? 0. And 1 absent. Who's absent?
Allison.
Allison. Oh, that's me. Okay, so that's our reporting it out. Okay, thank you, everybody. So we are going to adjourn our meeting. At, what time is it?
7:37.
Well done, 7:37. We're gonna move across the.
Well
hall.
done. Thank you, Counselor Getz.
Thank you.
And let's go
Recording stopped.
I don't know.